Welcome to the Do Good Work podcast. Today we have a special episode for you with Jeraud Norman. Jeraud has an incredible story and his backstory of what he went through, where he came from, and what he's doing today to serve clients using digital marketing and paid social media strategies. Now, typically in most podcasts, and you've probably seen this in this podcast too, we talk a lot about strategy, talk about a lot about business. In this one, we hint at everything that Jeraud is doing with marketing and his skill set to help and serve others. However, I really love the fact that in today's episode, we dive and we peel behind the layers and dive into the actual journey, the unique journey of an entrepreneur, the unique journey that all of us take. And your journey is also unique. Yes, you listening to this episode. We do talk about business, but I do want you to be able to kind of dissect like where you are at in your journey, being able to see what kind of legacy you're writing for yourself and for your future, your family, your generations, and your contribution to society. Jeraud is the CEO and founder of Jeraud Marketing, his digital marketing agency, like we mentioned, and he's on a mission to help business owners not only get the intent of Google search and be able to create an effective and efficient conversation with customers using paid ads, but on top of that, it's how he runs his business that is so important and how you run your business that makes really the biggest difference. I hope you enjoy this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Jeraud, thanks for being on, man.
Well, man, I appreciate you having me. It's been a long time. I'm glad we're finally here.
So you finally had this episode. So I just want to fill in the team, our listeners here, how we actually met. And I think this is going to be interesting just to show some of the evolution of what's going on with remote business, with networking. And so George just reached out to me point blank on LinkedIn and he's, hey, I'm going to an event. I think this was probably 2-3 years ago, 2018, 2019.
Something like that. Yeah. I was going to that event in San Diego.
He reaches out to me. I don't know who he is. He doesn't know who I am. He's just trying to make a connection. It's like, hey, we're going to San Diego. We start that relationship and we just keep talking to each other. I learn what he's doing. I send business his way. He takes care of that. And we build this relationship to now, like we have a lot of commonalities in regards to the mission that he's on, what he's actually doing with business owners, what he's doing with his own life, with his own business. And I think that is like the super abbreviated SparkNote version of why we're here today. But I really want to highlight mostly around your story, your journey, because it's an incredible story.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And like you said, it was crazy. I didn't reach out to a lot of people, but it was something about you. And obviously, it is something about you because I'm still here talking to you a few years later. But the cool thing is reaching out to you and you actually engaged and honestly loved the conversation. And I was just like, man, this guy's pretty cool. And there's people that reach out to you all the time. And I wasn't trying to sell you anything. You weren't trying to sell me anything. I was literally just looking to connect with some cool people. And just glad I came across you and that we're still here rocking, man.
No, absolutely. And I think that it's just for our audience to know, like the world that we come from in the online digital marketing, direct response space, it's a bit to find gems in the coal mine. And in regards to like how you came about, like your transformation story, or pretty much your quote unquote upbringing into this world, into the direct response world and the marketing world, I want to highlight how you went where you were. I believe you were working in the shipyards with your son and like at home and just doing everything you could to transforming that to being on strategy, to doing it what you're doing now with marketing, really helping, like truly helping business owners at a substantial way. Everyone needs better marketing, but the way that you've actually put your own spin to that, I want to share that journey, that story here.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Just hearing you even say it, like the shipyard was so long ago, but not so long ago. And every day I'm just grateful for the transformation I made. Some of you, well, and as we get into the story, you guys will hear, but some of the things that the opportunities, some of the things that show up that don't look like opportunities are opportunities. So you always just have to keep a positive mindset. Sometimes easier said than done, but you have to keep a positive mindset and just keep strategizing on what your goals are and just put in the work to make them happen. I know it sounds vanilla, but we'll go into more detail here in a second. So where you want us to start?
Let's just start. What inspired you? What fire was in you to one, make that change, two, identify the opportunity being in somewhere in this space, somewhere in the online digital marketing, real marketing space?
We have to go back to the shipyard. And just briefly, I went to Newport News Shipbuilding, where if you looked it up, it's where they build all the aircrafts, carriers, and submarines for the United States. Aren't all of those ships and subs aren't necessarily there all the time. They go to different places like California and so on and so forth. But they're all built there. And I went to what they call the apprentice school, which is basically like a 4-year program where you actually get paid to go to work. And I actually got paid to go get a degree, which I never even talk about the degree unless I'm telling the story. But it was pretty cool, right? Like to me, I grew up working hard. So to go into the shipyard, that hard work wasn't hard to me because I was already conditioned. So it was easy for me to do what I needed to do. And just like Raul had said, it's hard to find people with integrity. That's been my guiding star the whole time, making sure that I treat people how I want to be treated, tell the truth. And if I'm putting my name on something, that it means something. Painting something, welding something, if it's just telling Raul I was going to do something, I'm the type of guy that I want to say, do what I say and say what I do. Being in that environment wasn't actually the place for me. And what I started realizing that was with politics and all those other things, I was really good at what I did, but because I didn't do politics well, it got in the way of my advancement. And I decided, and I made it to supervisor on an aircraft carrier. So it was like the
Wow.
George H.W. Bush, like CVN 77. They named the Bush a big boat after him. And I ended up going from being a worker and an apprentice to starting off to, by the time the boat was finished, I was running like the whole nuclear program as a supervisor for my department, the engine department. It was crazy, nuclear stuff. Like even thinking about it, I can't even remember all of what I did because it's not important now. But with all that being said, I started there doing those things. Politics moved me out. I went and tried to work for the government. That didn't really work out well for me. I thought it would, but the integrity that the government had as far as their checks and balances is nowhere near what I was used to. So it really caused a culture shock within me because I'm like, every time I turn around, I see something that's not right because I was trained differently. And I just remember one day I switched to this place. They were supposed to pay me more money. They paid me less. I drove further. It was just a laundry list of things that was difficult. And then I remember one day just saying, I can't do this anymore. I literally walked up and looked at the sky like this and was just like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I can't do this forever. And I don't know
Mm.
why I didn't think of that beforehand. And long story short, I got hit by 18-wheeler truck. Like I'd say within a few weeks to a month after that, on the way to taking my son to school one day. And that just changed everything for me. I couldn't go to work after a while. I had to get surgeries. I lost my house. Finances were all out of whack. It was hard, man. And for me, like how I got into doing marketing was because the first thing I learned was what was it? Real estate investing. So I'm on crutches 2 days out of surgery. I see the fortune builders guys, they got flip this house guys.
Mm.
They come to town like Robert Kiyosaki and his people do. And my buddy Greg and I are like, yo, let's go. And I'm like, man, I'm not going back to work hopping around on crutches. Like I'm going to find a way not to go back because that place is just killing me on the inside. And I remember being at the event and not having the money to buy into the bigger program. And they called me a few weeks later and said, hey, we got a smaller program for like 5,000. And I took my tax money. It was right after tax time. And jumped into the program. And so getting back to that whole marketing aspect, how marketing came up then, because marketing showed up for me a few times before I just made it what I do. It was when I went to that event, they talked about how the difference with what they do versus what most people do is they focus on marketing. If you're not driving leads, if you're not driving business, it makes sense.
The
But when the
common sense stuff.
shipyard,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, in the shipyard, I didn't have to fight for any of that. It was always just given to us. That was the first thing. So that wasn't really working out well for me. I didn't have any money. I hustled up and down to all the different events, making connections. If I would have stuck with it longer, I probably could have got some things done the way I wanted to, but I really wasn't making that much money. And then I got approached with an opportunity to do network marketing, which I thought I found the holy grail. And I started learning a lot about sales there. And then some guys who were marketing gurus actually joined the company,
Huh.
and they saw how hard I was hustling, and they were just like, why are you hustling like that? I was like, because man, I really don't have a place to live. And I got, full custody of my son, and I'm raising his older brother, which I basically adopted. We need to eat and I don't have any money. So he was like, but there's easier ways. And I'm like, I'm listening. Because they came in the company and just blew up overnight. And I'm just like, how'd you guys do it? It was like, we don't run around talking to everyone. We actually find people who like what we sell and we put
Mm.
ads in front of them. And I was like, that works for me because I'm an introvert. And in all honesty, I'm talking to people out of survival. I really don't want to talk to everyone, not to sell them anything anyway.
Mm.
Like you and I have genuine conversations, but had I reached out 2 years ago, it would have been waiting for you to say something for me to flip it into something where I could try to sell you something because that's
Yeah.
just the position I was in. But I didn't like that either. So when those guys mentioned that to me, it just made me feel cheap to be that way. I started studying through their program, and long story short, I decided I didn't want to do network marketing. And I was like, hey, if I understand this marketing thing, everybody always needs help.
Yeah.
And that was the fire behind getting to where we are right now.
That's your life story. Your journey is incredible. The fact that you survived that and with your son, and then also making sure that you provided, I think that speaks high with the integrity, that speaks high with the discipline, the character. And I think that it translates really well with how we actually do our work and how you actually go about it, because we've all known, even in the network marketing or the affiliate marketing world, there's a lot of people who just want to sell a product without caring about the integrity of the product itself and then moving towards that. How have you, as you've transcended and reviewed working in the digital marketing space, there's so many changes happening and there are some trends that I want to hit on and make sure that we can to highlight those. But let's dive into the journey of we're here, you're building. I know you were building either services and then now we're transitioning, but you're building the services, you're working with different types of clients. What did you see? What did you learn? And how did you take that finding to continue to iterate as you aligned to your North Star? And I think that's a key thing for our listeners too, is that you have your journey, you have your unique ability, you have your own incredible story that you're writing right now. After listening to this, you're living it and you're writing it. There are things though that as you take action, you will find new paths or new doors to open and new directions to take. You're not there's I don't think that there is someone who's completely all the books written. I think we're continually writing the book. We're continually finding what works and we're always iterating. Sometimes in the beginning, there's big pivots. Network marketing, now you were doing something specific to serve clients at a higher level. And that makes sense. That's a strong pivot. And sometimes it's just a 2 degrees to the left, 2 degrees to the right, making these slight adjustments. I want to talk now in that phase of your journey. What data did you get from either working with clients, with your education, with your network? And then from there, what's minor adjustments did you make and how did you like make those decisions? Because I think in the decision making is where the difficulty lies and how we adjust and how we actually take action based on those decisions.
Yeah, that's really very true. It's really the matrix out there, isn't it? So if we go back to the beginning, one, just making the decision to do it. At the time, I jumped into that whole ClickFunnels situation. I gave Russell some money based on being connected with those internet marketers. They mailed out to their list. I was like, yo, this is cool. This is what you use. I used it. Went through a lot of Russell's trainings, and I realized that if I don't know how to get people to these funnels, then these funnels are useless. And he had some Facebook training in there, but I was like, that's not enough. Didn't have any money. So the first part was just getting confidence with the skills. And the hard part about that and the decision making process there is you need money. And at the same time, you're not skilled enough. So it's either you have to invest your time with someone. So I did a lot of free work in the beginning just to prove my worth and then try to flip it into clients. So if we're still in that kind of time range there, what I realized is that my first thought when I had the big idea that I was going to have a marketing company, every time I rode down the street, to me, it was just like there was endless possibilities. Everything that you pass is a potential client. And
Mhm.
it was just like, it felt good to actually have that feeling like I can do this. And then I started realizing early on that everybody's not a good client.
That's an experience problem, right?
Yeah, so I didn't have any experience, so I had to go through that and just started understanding, like, I wanted to work with people. It's not that I don't like people, but I really like you. You're a good dude. Like, I can talk to you about anything. I love your values, your principles, how you are with your family. Like, those are the type of people I wanna interact with, and
Mhm.
the clients weren't always those same people. They had no respect for the fact that I was a single dad or even just a dad, period. And after a certain time, yeah, I'm running a business, but my business, I want it set up in a way where when my son gets home from school, it's not every day that I'm doing something. It's, hey, son, on Friday, I might need to do this versus every day he comes home and I'm in the grind like I was a few years prior, because that's how it always was. He was with me all the time. But even when I was sitting with him, I just felt like I had to do something because we just didn't have enough. So understanding that everybody wasn't the right client and then making a decision that I wasn't going to just take everyone, which seemed like it was harder than it should have been looking back. But again, and like you said, it's an experience problem. And then even within that, understanding earlier on that sometimes you need to get rid of people.
Yeah.
When clients hire you, a lot of times they feel like they hold the key to the city and that you have to perform for them, which you wouldn't. Like a guy like me or a guy like Raul, we're not going to take someone on if we don't think we can help them. That's not our thing. Some people will, but that's just not us. But in all honesty, it should be a two-way street in that form. When
Yep.
when you get a client, it's a partnership. And I started realizing that I had started bringing in bad partnerships to my business. And what it caused me to feel was that I couldn't grow, because if I have a bad partner And then on top of that, marketing just takes time to work. I
Yeah.
got spoiled in the beginning. I was doing these local clients like gyms and stuff, and I was blowing it up in a week. And those people wouldn't pay me because they weren't the right clients. So like, we'll get to these leads and then we'll get back to you. And then understanding how to flip all that. But finding the right partners is everything. So I started having to get rid of the wrong clients, which kept me at an income level that I didn't want to,
Mm.
but it was better than where I was when I was struggling and having to do all kinds of things just to maintain my household because I didn't have any money. Those decisions were difficult. And staring across from someone that you can help and not being needy, even though your family's in need, honestly, that's a real discipline because as soon
Yeah.
as they smell neediness on you, then who wants to work with someone who's super needy? It's different. Ambition and neediness are two different things. Making sure that I took the time to center myself and was okay with not closing something, knowing it would one, if I did close it, it would be great for us because it would allow us more money to do more things. But if I didn't close it, not taking that personally, which network marketing helped with that. You get a lot of rejection in sales and network marketing. And I never took it personal. I took it as an opportunity to challenge myself because they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting the product. And if anything, I didn't show it to them the right way. Those are a lot of decisions earlier on in the beginning. Do you want me to talk about the decisions as we progress?
I do want to hit that, but I do want to recap on a few things that you mentioned. One, obviously, the discipline of taking those reps in the beginning. I know I remember when I was back in the corporate days, quote unquote. I was in sales and that, and a lot of rejection, a lot of no's and stuff like that. But that's the reps, the repetition, the practice. And I think I really want to highlight this. And this is for an experienced business owner. I think it's a good reminder for the newer business owners or those who want to become entrepreneurs. It's a really good reminder. It's for me we were in lower income and stuff like that. So I know the feeling, the need and desire to get momentum and revenue and that going. But even when you do that, I think that is a point that everyone needs to quote unquote going back, everyone needs to eat. Everyone needs to make sure that we move forward, but also getting to the point where you provide at a different level of value, a different level of service, coming through a different stance of integrity. That not only speaks volumes in regards to how you approach to the client, but they also feel that you have their best interest in mind and you build a real relationship with clients. And if you care about anything, the real name of the game in business is lifetime value,
Mm.
referrals, success stories. If you care about that, then this is all takes in part in the front end, making sure that we have that alignment, that trust. And I think what you mentioned is so key in making sure that you audit who am I serving? Are these the right people that I can help at the highest level? And are they also reciprocating that relationship back? It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street, because that's 100% true. I think diving into this, like you mentioned in the beginning, from talking to anyone and everyone, and then now you're talking to specifically identifying your quote unquote ideal customer. And I'm putting quotes around this because you can't see me italize this while I speak it out loud as the listeners, but the ideal customer, you're defining who that is, you're defining what relationship you want, you're defining how you want them to feel and what results you want them to get, which is all part of the long-term play. But I know that the secret sauce that you deliver is that you've taken this model where you know who we're trying to attract, and you turn strangers into clients, and not just any client, but the right client. That is the art and the science. And I want to dive into how you unpacked and created that methodology, and how you're actually impacting businesses today with that.
To like you said, it's reps, right?
Yeah.
And to go from someone who was working in the shipyard, which there's smart guys in the shipyard, there's smart guys everywhere, but it's a totally different situation learning how to market. And as we grow up, and even now, marketing's all around us. Same way sales is all around us. But if you're not in tune with that and no one's actually made you aware of what's happening, you're just in the moment, you're just there, and you're just like, oh,
Mhm.
this is great. But everything is sold with marketing. So
Mhm.
for me, it was getting in the reps. So I joined in another program, and actually, there was a few programs I wanted to join into, and one in particular, I realized like just watching this guy because I never watched ads, and I saw this guy's ad. A good friend of mine, Billy Jean of Billy Jean is Marketing, saw his ad, and I'm like, I never watch ads. Saw this guy show up in my news feed, and I was just captivated. And I'm not the type of guy who's usually captivated. And I saw him go to his office, and I was like, man, this is what I was envisioning like a week or two ago. So it was almost like everything lined up. So I knew at that moment that I needed to, and this is something I learned in network marketing, was the difference between being trained and being coached. Because a lot of time on the weekends, if you ever been in network marketing, they'll do the training over the weekend, which is great. You're jiving with your folks, you're learning things, but as soon as you leave, you're back on your own. So unless you have that energy to carry you forward, which is usually other people that are around you to carry it with you and then coach you through the things that you may or not be doing wrong, you've really just been trained, and then you're back on your own and you don't get a training again until it wraps around or you watch videos. So I was like super committed to being coached. Like, in all honesty, and I told him this, I jacked his course offline. Back then it was the 1.0 version of his clicks into customers. I jacked it offline for 20 bucks because they wanted 1,500 and I just didn't have it. I
Yeah.
literally tried to sell my car. I couldn't sell my car. Eventually I did sell the car and I bought the 2.0 because I remember that sales call. They were like 1.0 and I was like, bro, I just had to be honest with you because I just can't lie. I mean, I already took it. And it was like, we don't see you in here. And I'm like, but I'm here because
Yeah.
I know for a fact that's training. And that training did help me to get better because I watched those videos so many times. Like,
Yeah.
repetition is a key to mastery. And I watched them so many times over and over again that I had to program myself, because whether you're listening to this, whether no matter where you are in life, you're always being programmed indirectly or directly. So I purposely programmed myself to understand the tactics of some of the best marketers in the world. And between him and some other folks, I studied like crazy, showed up to live trainings, got actual feedback, would watch the training over again. I
Yeah.
believe one training that he did, I watched it like, man, close to 100 times.
That's swing, man. That's swing. Same thing when I got a good book, I listen to that book 30 times, and it's like not a short book. But and I want to pause here because I had something similar where I was either going, because these core information is available online if you want to get a legitimately. And I had that same decision tree happen. Do I get this online for super low cost, or do I take the risk? And I'm really thankfully I had the opportunity based on the revenue we were generating. I took the risk, I did it, and I'm extremely happy that I did it, and I did it that way. Not to say that, because I think 1 year later or 2 years later, I was amongst the best in the world working with the guy who created the program, helping him grow his company. And that I think for us, like you mentioned, you didn't just do this and leave. Like you went to Billy, you're like, hey, let's keep doing, let's keep reinvesting and see what we can do. Cause that's one of the key things, in my opinion, is that education. It, even if you don't see a direct ROI, I personally put education at least 1,000 return on investment for anything that I buy or anything that I actually educate myself on. And if it's not 1,000, that's on me. But
Yeah.
for me, it's the minimum is around 1,000 return on investment.
Say that part again, because the people listening to you, they're going to invest in things and it's going to be on them, but they don't want to. I'm not saying that your group, but just period. But say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, I think it's important when you invest either in a program, in a course, in a book, or in some education, even if it's less than $50, you can easily turn that in from 1,000 return on investment up to 10,000, depending how low the product price. I've been able to do it, and let's be real, I wasn't the smartest guy in the room. I failed my AP tests in high school and stuff like that. Like, there's nothing special here. It's just like the hustle and the doing. But it's up to you to really make that investment. It's up to you to take that action. And if you don't get that return, that's literally no one else's fault, because there's no coach, there's no nothing. It's just you and your drive and the application and taking action, not being afraid to take the next step.
You can make money on anything. That's something my dad used to say. You can make money doing anything. It's just whether you're going to put the effort and the time into doing it. And I think a lot of people don't put in the effort or the time, and they switch to something else and switch to something else, which is going back to where we were a little while ago, is like there's a difference between making pivots and this switching up and what they call it, shiny object syndrome, something like
Oh,
that.
distractions. Yeah, distractions. It still happens. And you would be surprised at a high level, even at the successful points too. Like, I think keeping the path, keeping the focus, and keeping like what are the straight and narrow of like my goals, the outputs, the team, if you have a team, consistency. This is my hypothesis, or my formula is that action multiplied by consistency multiplied by time equals results. The only trick here to humans is time, because we have to go through it and we experience time. If we didn't have to deal with time, just take the action, but we have to deal with time, remain consistent over time. And that's where the rubber really hits the road.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I can't even say it any better than that.
Let's do a full circle here though. Now that we've understood where you came from, how you're helping people and like how you actually got to where you're at. And this is really cool for us to peel behind the scenes. Okay, we're regular people. Like, you can, anyone with the drive and determination, with the resources, can do this. No one is, in my opinion, self-made. We all have had help. We've all had mentors. We all had support. You and I support each other. I think now when we look at this, it's what is the impact that you're looking to make in the world and what got you to that point?
When it comes to marketing, like my overall impact, and we don't have to go down this road too much, especially being a single father, just understanding that a lot of people, it would be great if everybody was together when they had kids. I thought that was going to be my life, and it just wasn't. To be able to get my son and have him with me, not that he doesn't see his mother at all, but to make sure that I have some control in that situation. I just think that men are missing that, whether it's kids out of wedlock, whether it's failed, whatever it is. I just feel like it shouldn't just be a default that the kid just lives with their mom and that's it. Now, if she's the better parent, then of course, then you support her and you make sure you see your child. But if you are the better parent and this is being unbiased, then you need to take action to make sure that your kid's in the best place. So I think my overall mission is to help more fathers spend more time with their kids, whether it's live with them or to just do it while they're with the mom. I just feel like a lot of times people, especially in my culture, man, it seems like it's automatic that the guys just leave and it's the mom's thing. And it's not necessarily true across the board, but that's the broadly painted picture. And a lot of times when you put things out there broadly like that, people just assume that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's probably what happened to them. So they're like, oh, it's no big deal. And it's just horrible, man. So that's my main mission in life, is to help more fathers. But when it comes to marketing,
You're also using your superpowers, and that's the key thing. And I want to unlock that here is that you're using your superpower within marketing to be able to also expand on that
yeah,
mission. So I think that's one of the key things too, is that when we provide services or when we provide results or products to a customer or a client, the impact that we make goes beyond, it's the transformation that we're trying to create and the skill set that you can hone in, and looking at the skill set as a 20-year game, as a 40-year game, as a 60-year game. Like, how am I going to be the best in the world versus myself, not everyone else, at this one thing? And how am I going to practice diligently every day to get better, at least a little bit at this one thing, to be in the 20 years down, like you're the expert in that. But we're looking not in 3 months, we're not looking in 6 months, we're looking at 5, 10, 15, 20-year increments. And just to expand on that, so you're using your superpower to be able to hit that mission.
yeah, and the hard part about what you just said is with social media, everything's in a microwave now. So there's some people that do hit it. Overnight success is more attainable now, but it's still not what usually happens. I like to say overnight success is about what 21,000 days or something in that range.
Yeah, it's the 10-year overnight success. No one sees the 9 years before, but then the overnight, like when you pop up, wait,
Yeah, but at the same time, as fathers, and especially with you, like just your knowledge for so much and the things that you went through. Like my dad, he gave me the ethics of hard work and he taught me what he could, but he didn't understand what I understand now. So it's my duty and my privilege actually to set my son up so he doesn't have those same issues that I had coming forward. And you just had your son and he is in like a prime position because you're an amazing person and great father, and you're just gonna lead him to. Of course, he's gonna face his own challenges. You can't solve everything for him, but it's really just about making sure that your problems aren't his problems and that he can create his own problems so that he can advance, your family into the next generation. I think that whole thing is cool.
yeah, we're always
But
doing our best. But yeah, going back to your mission, how you're impacting that.
yeah, with marketing, simply put, it's really I meet a lot of good people, whether they're my ideal client or not, especially here locally, but just anywhere I go, I meet great people that have great products and services. And the problem is, it's not that they can't serve people. They just don't know how to get out there. And I was one of those people once. So if I can just help somebody, whether it's through a course that I have, if maybe they're not able to afford what the program that I have to put out there, we have courses. Maybe they are able to afford the programs that we put out there. We can help them. But it's really to help those people who have a genuine heart and genuine desire to help people the way you and I do, to help them get their message out. So that way it can change other people's lives. And in the process, it changes their lives. So when I think about some of the clients I've had in the past and the impacts that I've been able to have on their life, like not even just them, but their children, their grandkids. And I remember one time, shout out to my boy Pocky. He's been a client of mine for 4 years. I went to Orlando to meet him, I think right after the pandemic started or the next summer. I can't remember. But when I got there, it was the first time we met in person, but we've talked so many times, man. And just to walk into that house and for his wife, him, his son, his daughter, and their friends to treat me like I was living down the street and I just came over yesterday. Just even talking about it now, that kind of messes with me.
Incredible,
But
yeah.
so that's what my main mission is, just to help more people who have something that's of value. If you're a scammer and all that stuff, yeah, I sniff all that stuff out. I'm not playing around with y'all. But if you really have a mission to help people, of course we all need to make money. That's what I'm about. And honestly, like that's even the type of people I want to attract. I just want to attract people who have that good spirit and that good heart. And then of course we can try to work everything else out. It's not really about what your business is. And if I'm not a fit to help you with that, then all I do is pick up the phone and call someone, because I know a ton of marketers that, like you said, it's hard to find those guys, but in the communities like Billy's community, I've made really good friends. So the guy called me the other day and said, hey, I want to do mortgage. And he came from one of my coaches, referred me to him, which my coach is from one of the communities I'm in. And I was like, man, that sounds really good. But my boy, Tom, who's one of my best friends since I've been in this marketing thing, all he does is mortgages. So yeah, I could have signed him up right then and there. My buddy already teed it up for me, but I was like, man, like I could do this, but Tom specializes in this. What's better for this guy here? Is it for
Yeah.
me or is for Tom? So I called Tom, put him on the phone, and now they're going off to do that thing. And I just think it's more important that he's with someone who's more dialed in on his mission. And I'm just glad I knew someone that could service him. If not, I would have done it. But there was someone who was better at it than I was. So I don't have a problem with
I
saying
do
that.
that too. Like it happens in recent. It's literally that's another email. But I actually have an intro for you that we can talk after this. But I think it's important once the story arc of us obviously struggling and everyone's journey is different. But once you solve the value equation of how much value you can deliver to the marketplace and get value in return in exchange of currency, once you solve that equation and ensuring that you have the value, it's no longer about how much exchange can we make. It's the value exchange plus alignment with the core of the business and the missions. And when you have that alignment, it doesn't become work anymore. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I just have fun at work every day." Yeah, yes, obviously it is a hustle. It's not just we're just walking the park. It's fun. It's nice. It's creative, but it's more than that. I think it's when there's true alignment between the value of the person you're trying to serve, in your case, those who have something of value but just don't know how to get it out there, and the values that you have in your business and in your personal values that are alignment. That creates a synergy that is very difficult to match. And it also is a competitive if we want to talk just pure business here, that it's not easy to leave someone like that over someone else who may not have the same values. But when you do, that's the bigger play. That's like the behind the scenes work. And that's do good work. But
Ah,
Jeraud,
that's
for
perfect. That's perfect.
yeah, it's it right there, man. For our listeners out there, what's the best place for people to, one, thank you for this episode, and two, learn a little bit more about what you're up to?
Honestly, I would say the best place you can go is probably my Instagram profile or my LinkedIn. Instagram, I'd say I'm more active on Instagram right now, and need to get better at Raul on LinkedIn. But my Instagram is Jeraud underscore GAVE, and the GAVE stands for gratitude, appreciation, visualization every day. Something I came up with along the journey, and I started realizing as I used to watch my son, and I started feeling like I was there, but I wasn't there. And I was just like, man, if I start my day from a place of gratitude and just go through those steps, it just changed my life. Things happen in between the day, but if you start your day and end your day a certain way, you have more control of what happens in between. So if you go to my Instagram, I do more stories than I do posts, but we're going to ramp the posts up here soon. But a lot of times it's really just about me enjoying my recovery journey still from, that accident, 10 years ago now. I'm still recovering from that. I work hard to get my body in order, and I spend a lot of time with my family. Like I said, being my dad is more important than anything to me in this world. And you'll just see that come out, and you'll see who I am as a person. And if you think I can help you, there's a link in the bio, and just there's a way to get a hold of me on my website.
Make it happen. We'll put those links in the show notes. And Jeraud, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, do good work, man. Raul, I appreciate the hell out of you, man. I really do. And thank you for allowing me to come on here and sharing your platform with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here with us today. It's an honor to be a small part of your journey. If you gain a new insight on today's episode, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a comment with the insight you've learned. While you're there, you can also leave us up to a 5-star review. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you'd like us to go deeper on the podcast, please drop us a line at podcast@dogoodwork.io. That's podcast@dogoodwork.io. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.